Good day, everyone. We are the Group 5 and we will tackle about the dependency theory. Now let's proceed with the next slide, which I will show you what are we going to talk about in this topic. We will tackle the introduction of dependency theory. Next is to explain the theory in a context of social change. The last one is to give an examples of dependency theory in a context of the Philippines. Now let's proceed with the introduction. Theory focus on an individual countries, their job as supplier of unrefined component, modest work, and markets for expensive fabricated merchandise from industrialized nations. Economic events in history have encouraged developing nations to rely on the support of more advanced nations. This unequal exchange relationship was viewed as contributing to poor economic growth. For instance, from 1960 to 1900, European nations like Great Britain and France took over or colonized other nations. At that time, they achieved this by utilizing their superior naval power and military technology.
So dependency theory was heavily promoted by Andre Gunder Frank, a German-American sociologist and economic historian. Dependency theory emerged in 1960s to 1970s in a line with study why there are a lot of countries underdeveloped, who and what prevents it from progress. If modernization theory focuses only in rich and progressive countries, dependency theory mainly focuses on poor and underdeveloped countries. Dependency theory is the concept that resources flow from a periphery of poor and underdeveloped states to a core of wealthy states, enriching the latter at the expense of the former. It is a central argument of dependency theory that poor states are impoverished and rich ones enriched by the way poor states are integrated into the world system. Dependency theory, an approach to understanding economic underdevelopment, that emphasizes the putative constraints imposed by the global political and economic order. According to the dependency theory, underdevelopment is mainly caused by the peripheral position of affected countries into the world economy. Example of this is the Philippines and America. We in the Philippines, as part of the periphery countries, we give resources and chef labor to the America as being part of the core countries in exchange or in return to our processed goods received on them. Another example of this is that one of the tasks of being part of the periphery countries is to give chef labor to the core countries. So if we're trying to look back and assess our history, core countries are considered to be colonizers like American and Japan. And those third world countries are those who colonize like the Philippines. So technically, one of the numerous reasons why we are part of the underdeveloped countries it is because of the colonizations of the other countries we experienced before. Philippines underdevelopment are still in the line in the sense that we are continue to receive the capitals and various technologies to the other countries who much more developed compared to us.
Good day, everyone. I am explaining to you the dependency theory and the context of social change. Dependency theory is a sociological theory which holds that economic events in history have encouraged developing countries to depend upon the support of more advanced nations. This dependence prevents developing nations from fully creating institutions and infrastructure necessary for full transition into industrial nations. This process can take many forms from developing country. However, it might be better to talk about dependency theories as there are a variety of different theories with similar themes. In a historical sense, dependency theory looks at the unequal power relations that have developed as a result of colonialism. In the colonial period, newly industrialized colonial nations expanded into areas that were unclaimed by other colonial powers. The result was that the natural resources of less developed nations were used to fuel and colonial nations. Factories. The methods used by imperial powers often involved direct military and political control. Colonialism collapsed after the Second World War, but its legacy continued in the form of neocolonialism. International finance and capitalism became the preferred methods of control over developing nations. As a result, many underdeveloped countries now owe developed nations a significant amount of money and cannot shake that debt. Others suffers from a reliance on importing finished goods and importing and exporting natural resources.
Dependency theory explains that underdeveloped nations enrich advanced countries with resources at their own expense. This theory was formulated in 1960 to respond to a static by a researcher known as Raoul Prebisch. In his research, Prebisch noted that the wealth of the advanced nations came from the developing ones. Therefore, dependency theory holds that developing nations are entirely dependent on advanced nations, and this limits them from being industrious. The dependence theory are explained in many forms, one of them being colonialism. Colonialism suggests that advanced nations took over new territories and in the process, they used military and political influences in order to take control of resources of the new regions. So dependency theory is mura siya kanang example to this is the Philippines, in which the Philippines is a dependent country to US. In kanang mura bitaw kanang ang Philippines is kita ang gahatag og kanang kita ang gahatag og resources sa US. Kanang ano bitaw kanang ang Philippines kay dili siya kanang maingon nga kanang fully developed countries kan kinahanglan pataog kanang help sa other country nga kanang industrialized na gid sila ay kanang globalized na gid bitaw, like for example what I said is kanang US, in which kanang many ay kanang halos gyud kasagaran sa ato ang kanang especially in terms of kanang political, economics, or kanang mga military kanang mga gamit sa mga military or kanang political influences ga ano gid ta sa US. Makita man po nato sa news usahay nga kanang ang Philippines dependent yun sa US country.
The example of the dependency theory in the context of the Philippines. The Philippines is a periphery and it's considered to belong in a third world country. The slow development of the country for the reason of its increasing integration of the foreign interests, technologies, and markets. The Philippine reality experiencing an raging domination of its economic development by the transnational corporations, impossibility, and slowly repaying the indebtedness of the country, and the increasing pauperization of the rural masses, resulting in poverty and unemployment, and the total degradation and the marginalized poor.
Thank you, Mr. Jinker. Additional for the example of this theory and the context in the Philippines. As Mr. Neil said, for the example between Philippines and America, the Philippines serves as a source of raw materials, a source of a cheap labor, and a market for high-end manufactured goods from industrial nations. Industrial nations is the country are more developed in the economy and the other things. Some of the popular food products for exports from the Philippines include mangoes, banana, pineapple, tuna, coconut, and the aforementioned coconut oil. The country alone revealed by the Philippine Coconut Authority accounts for 60% and 73% of coconut oil and crude coconut oil imports in the United States. Philippines exports to others country while developed country, they manufacture goods and sell sell it to us in a high value. That is, the unequal exchange relationship between developed and developing countries was viewed as a contributing to poor economic growth to our country. And that's the end of our report. Thank you.